on the rise, making that dough in the crypto paradigm. Watching it go, buying low, selling high. Riding the wave, I'm here to stay, living in the digital age. No banks, no fees, just decentralized. It's crypto paradise. Ooh. No banks, no fees.
Alrighty, good morning from Paradise Surfers. Happy Wednesday, December 31st. Happy New Year's, everybody. Wow, can't believe the year's over. Crazy 2025. We're going to do a little look back on some of our wins, some of our losses, some of our predictions gone right, some of our predictions gone wrong, but more importantly, what we think is in store for 2026. Will Bitcoin hit a new all-time high? Which alts will outperform? Which sectors will do well? Any bombshell political news that may be coming? Any bombshell Fed decisions that may be coming? We'll cover the whole gambit for you guys. But before we get into all that, Happy New Year's, Nick. Any plans for tonight? Are you going out and getting drunk, or are you staying in because you're old?
Haven't really. We thought we were gonna have Luca with us, so we're like, oh, we're gonna go to a staycation at the hotel and maybe just go to the pool. And now Luca's doing something else with his friends, so now we're just kind of lost in limbo. So very well might just be on the couch with a little streamer at midnight watching Netflix. I don't know. We'll see what happens.
I don't know if I'm even gonna make it to midnight. So if you make it to midnight, even if on the couch, know that you've had more fun than I've had doing basically the normal stuff. We were thinking, oh, we try to get together with friends and stuff like that. Didn't really get our act together. So we're probably just going to be chilling at home with the family. But no worries, I'm not bothered by it. I don't like going out on New Year's. It's too cold. It's too cold, too crowded, too expensive, and I'm too old. So that's not happening.
Well, we're at the age, too, where it's like, you almost, when you're a kid, you go to a friend's house and you have a house party. Then when you get in that middle age, it's like, oh, we must go out and go to the bar and spend that $200 for a ticket. And now we're to the age where it'd still be nice, like, hey, let's, 5-friend group get together at a house or something. But even that's becoming more difficult, it seems, this year.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing some friends, but we, didn't get our act together and didn't organize, didn't coordinate. All good though, not worried about it. I'm more worried about these markets, or maybe I shouldn't be worried about it, because it seems like a little bit of green. I made a joke yesterday on my Twitter because I saw someone celebrating like a 0.5% move on Bitcoin. It's like, is this where we got with the markets, where we're just like, yes, we're up by like $100, yay? And I was like, yeah, actually, I am cheering.
Yeah, I think a lot of that comes from just how close we are to an inflection point and a trend reversal, especially on Ethereum here. Again this morning, coming up, trying to get above that red line we've been talking about, the 300 moving average, while these two converge. We were at $3,029. Just need another $50 and to close above that red line. That'd be the first bullish close since October. And what do you know? Red candle, giving up the $30, and now we're back to right around $3,000 ETH. Again, not big moves, but when you're at this major inflection point where you only needed a $100 move in ETH to get above this 300 moving average. You got the 200 moving average looking to do a bullish cross. You got the higher lows forming. You got the end of the year coming. You're right there for a bullish trend reversal, and we just can't get it done. And it seems like we've been trying to get this done for this entire month.
Trading's, to me, all about probabilities, because nobody knows for certain what's going to happen tomorrow, what's going to happen in a month from now, a year from now. I mean, we can sit here as prognosticators, and we can make our educated guesses, but no one truly knows. You just go by probabilities. And so given that, the question should be in everyone's mind, what is more likely to happen next? ETH breaking to the downside, right? Further crash, 4-year cyclists, whatever, they're happy. Or we bounce and we run and we pump again towards all-time highs. I think given the fact we just had a big crash, I think all the macros that we'll get into, we talk about ad nauseum, the greater likelihood is that we begin to pump again in early 2026 rather than a further breakdown. That's my guess. Could be wrong. I'm a perma bull. Take it for what it is. But what's your thoughts? I mean, more likely than not to pump or dump?
I mean, obviously, we're in the camp of the 5-year cycle, and we think things are going to go higher based on everything we talk about every single day. But we're going to get to liquidity, get to Fed rates, get to policy, get to Thomas Lee later. Let's just look at it from this perspective. What is the performance? 2025 is the second worst year in history for Ethereum. Only 3 green months. Yet we have 4-year cyclists saying that was the bull run, bull market over, the top is in. And the number 2 crypto asset in the entire ecosystem literally had its worst year in history. That's where their comments, the normal 4-year cycle, just doesn't match up with reality unless you really believe that, hey, this was Bitcoin cycle. I know we got adoption. I know we got more macros coming, a bullish president, all these new advancements with blockchain tech. But this cycle, worst performing cycle ever, Bitcoin only, no altcoins, and not even the second largest crypto asset, Ethereum, with all the adoption it's getting, could have a better year than this.
This chart, I think, demonstrates further our contention that when it comes to alts, it is all about liquidity. And we just haven't had sufficient liquidity coming into the financial markets and the economy vis-a-vis the Fed pretty much this entire year. It's miraculous that Bitcoin did as well as it did. It is absolutely astonishing that in the face of quantitative tightening, no real liquidity coming in at all. In fact, liquidity being sucked out, that we had a run from 16,000 to 126. That was a miraculous thing, actually, in retrospect. So, but ETH not really having performed particularly well. I know BNB had a couple months of green, and we were so happy when it hit $1,400. We did a 3-day meme season on BNB chain. Solana had some outperformance for a little bit. But for the most part, Ethereum, BNB, Solana, all the altcoins really did absolutely nothing and had poor performance through 2025. But again, it shouldn't be a surprise because we didn't have the liquidity conditions that we needed. So it is what it is. 2025 was not good for alts. I guess, again, the probability, what's the probability of another bad year for Ethereum and altcoins, or better chance of a bullish year? I think you know where my money's at. So do what it is, folks. Good morning to everybody watching the stream. Happy New Year's, guys. Thank you for tuning in to Crypto Paradise day in, day out. I hope you're getting something from it. I hope you're learning something. I hope you're being entertained a little bit. I hope you're enjoying the community as well. So good morning. Oh, this is not popping up. I don't know why this is not popping up on the stream. But in any event, what other stories do we have on deck? Maybe let's talk. Nick, what was like something in 2025 that surprised you one way or other, like good, bad, or indifferent? Let me get your take on 25.
I think, we were pretty spot on. We called 100,000 Bitcoin by the end of 2024, which happened. We called President Trump winning and being bullish for crypto, which happened. We know, the polls looked like he was going to win like in October, a month before the election. Everything started going up, new highs through the end of the year. And then we had the tariff FUD. And what's crazy about the tariff FUD is we were right on the tariff final outcome, but kind of wrong in the short term, because we said, hey, tariffs are good. It's going to help national debt. It's not going to be inflationary. People are overreacting. And we had that massive drop in the market. Now, we did tell you when to buy those lows, but we didn't exit before that big capitulation happened. But we held tight. We told you to buy the lows. We kept saying tariffs are not inflationary. They're good for the national debt. They're good for dividend payments, which are coming, and everything else. And we were proven right on that. And what is interesting is I did a video talking about looking back at previous tariffs. I think it was like 1965, and how it had a V-shaped recovery and asset prices went to new highs. Well, guess what? Stocks new highs, NASDAQ new highs, S&P new highs, Dow Jones new highs, gold new highs, silver new highs, everything new highs, and we're right about everything, right? Well, Bitcoin and Ethereum and crypto didn't really follow. And yes, there is liquidity conditions. That is why we're going to talk about here in a little bit, why it hasn't happened yet and why we think it can still happen. But I think that was my biggest surprise. We were so right about predictions for end of 2024. We were so right about Trump winning. We saw a good momentum through the early stages of 2025 like we thought. And when the tariff FUD happened, we had conviction for a V-shaped recovery, and we got that in everything but what we're most long on, which is those crypto assets.
I think 2025 was the year I realized that whatever you think is going to happen, perhaps the opposite might happen, right? And you go back to the tariffs. And my other takeaway is this. Time flies. Time flies. Let's just talk about the tariffs for a sec, because I'm sure you guys pretty much forgot about all this, right? Think about it. Like, who has thought about tariffs? Who has talked about tariffs? Who has been worried about tariffs in months? But rewind to February. Rewind to April. I mean, this is all anybody talked about. It was an obsession. And so what I say that to say this, whatever you're feeling now about the market, about news, Somalians, I don't, whatever it is, whatever you're feeling now, I can guarantee in 6 months will be long be forgotten. The market will be different. The news will be different. Other things will be going on for you to worry about. And my guess is the prices will be higher than it is today. So that's first point I want to make. Second point is this was the year where expectations just got thrown out the window for like everything. Let's talk about 4-year cycle. I mean, I was actually in the 4-year cycle camp in the beginning of the year. I mean, even with half the year I was there. And it kind of was playing out, at least to some degree at times. And we did run up to 126. And then, of course, we had October 10th. That was the big sort of eye-opening, unexpected, let's call it a black swan event, because that's what it was, that pretty much destroyed, I think, the 4-year cycle. Any blow off top possibility, that was foreclosed at that point, and it's just been a downtrend ever since. So to me, the year of expectations getting blown up, the year of unexpected stuff happening, from tariffs, 10-10, 4-year cycle not being a thing, and even this too, I'll add, the Fed actually did what we predicted in many cases. They cut the rates, they ended the QT, and then the market not behaving as you'd expect in terms of crypto anyway. So just the year of expect the unexpected, crazy stuff out of left field. And I think maybe that's a good lesson for 26 too. Like, my guess is we continue to see unexpected stuff out of left field, and you have to be ready for anything in these markets, and hopefully we're helping you guys through that a little bit.
Yeah, and talking about inflation and what's going on right now, well, this just came out. Truflation, both of our independent measures of inflation, CPI and PCE, have fallen back below the 2% target after some months of post-tariff increases. And here you go, the Truflation U.S. headline CPI inflation, 1.99%, first time in several months for that, and the Truflation U.S. PCE inflation at 1.84%. Now, this shouldn't come to a surprise because, number one, this is what we said was going to happen. That tariffs aren't inflationary, that inflation is dying off, and Trump and the administration and their decisions are really tampering down inflation. Number two, we've been following Truflation data, and this is the trend they've been showing. And then number three, we have been seeing that the Fed has been cutting rates. They have been still saying, oh, there's a little inflation here, blah, 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 but we've been on the side that it isn't happening, and they keep believing it, obviously, because they're cutting the rates. And then lastly, from my empirical data, me going and buying the same items every week for years now, I have actually seen those snacks and vending machines actually taper down for the first time in 5 years, from the peanut butter snacks that you guys love, the crackers, to the sodas, to the energy drinks, whatever it is. I'm noticing not much of a difference, but prices are either holding or going down 2, 3, 4 cents per item, which has to tell you that inflation is down, or supply and demand curve is in the favor of the buyer and reseller versus the company itself right now.
Truflation obviously always out in front of the data. I hope that this data gets in front of the Fed in the form of official PCE reports prior to the January 29th meeting is when they'll make that decision. Yeah, I'm not surprised to see inflation trending in the direction it has been trending over the last few months. That's normally what happens, right? You get a trend, it keeps going up until something occurs to break the trend. Really, there's further evidence that we're going to see continued downward pressure on inflation. You look at gas prices. Gas prices are as low as I have seen them in like 3 or 4 years. I mean, this is crazy. I'll give you guys an anecdote. There is an old gas station on the corner of my town that's been basically abandoned for like 5 years, since I've lived here. It's been completely abandoned, but it has still the signage with the prices. So these are prices from like 5 years ago. It's like $2.74. Guess what? I'm going driving around and then go to the gas stations that are open, filling up my tank, $2.85. Basically the same gas price as it was 5 years ago. Like, this just doesn't happen, guys. And so you want to hate Trump, you want to, whatever, he's the orange man bad, whatever. This is a miraculous thing, and I know the president doesn't control the gas prices. It's by himself. It's a global market, all that. But gas prices are one big reason why I foresee inflation continue to be pushed down. Secondly, with the tariffs, that was a big nothing burger as we predicted. Most of them got negotiated away. the companies are actually eating the tariff money
Or
that's coming in, and now we're going to be hopefully getting dividend checks out of that too. So inflation is trending in the right direction. Let's see if the Fed picks up on that in time to make the right decision and cut the rates on the 29th.
Yeah, and talking about gasoline prices, I just looked it up. When you adjust for inflation, even, these are the cheapest prices in gasoline since February of 2021, the last time Trump was in office. If you do just by price per gallon, not including inflation, well, guess what? It's the lowest since May of 2021, also the last time Trump was in power. So this is the lowest gas prices in like 5 years, whether inflation adjusted or whether just looking at spot price per gallon.
Yeah, and you got to understand the cost of energy filters down to the price of pretty much every good because it takes obviously energy to get goods to and fro.
Yeah, plastic is a petroleum-based product as well, and everything you're wearing is polyester petroleum-based. All the toys you just bought your kids for Christmas, petroleum-based. So, we need to get away from the polyesters. You need more cotton in your life, but petroleum-based is all around you, and that is based on oil prices.
Yeah, so I expect to see inflation come down further. We'll likely get some labor market readings that continue to be shaky because, again, that's been the trend. The trends just don't reverse themselves out of the blue for no reason. Like, if the labor market's looking bad, companies, they understand this stuff. They're going to say, well, I'm concerned that there aren't as many customers that want to buy my good or service. And so therefore, I'm not going to hire, or maybe I'm going to start firing more people. And these things become almost self-fulfilling prophecy, right? The trends continuing in the same direction. So the Fed, they should know this. They have about 500 economists that they pay, 6 figures or more to look at all this data. You'd think that they'd be able to come to these conclusions that we come to and see that unless they intervene here, the labor market's going to continue to deteriorate. But sadly, it looks like 12% now saying a 25 basis point cut. Not a great probability.
The 25 basis point cut is down 1%, and the 50 basis point cut is down 1%. January 27th is the next meeting date. Again, I don't think this causes major pumps, but we want to keep trending in the direction of lower interest rates because right now it's just short-term interest rates. Then if you cut enough, it will roll over to long-term interest rates, and then everybody's happy. You save money on your credit card, your car loan, your mortgage. Investors can get cheaper capital to pile into risk-on assets or other markets as well. And also, when you impact the long-term interest rates, that's where the $8 trillion sitting in money markets right now that's making between 4 and 5%, their hand will be forced. Do they take 2 to 3%, which is what inflation is, or do they rotate out of the money market and into other investments to try to outperform inflation or get better returns on their money? History tells you that if interest rates get low enough, they're going to roll out of those cash markets and get into risk on assets because liquidity is there and the gain opportunity is there as well.
I'll tell you guys a little anecdote around interest rates. Yesterday, my wife's car has been having troubles. And we got an estimate on the cost to fix it, and it's like thousands of dollars. The car's not worth that much. So went in yesterday, traded it in, and leased a new car for her. Turns out, the interest rate that we paid on that new lease was only 3.5%. Great. Wow, I thought it was going to be higher. But 3.5%, maybe because it's a lease, and I don't know all the intricacies of all that, but happy to see only 3.5%. So look, this is what we need. This is what we want. Lower interest rates makes life more affordable. I can get a new car for my wife. She's happy. I'm happy. Yay. So Fed, if you're listening, do the right thing. Cut the rates. Let's get some activity back in the economy. And I do think, too, your biggest point, once the rates are lower, you're not going to be able to earn sufficient returns in a money market. You'll have to move out into the stock market or better yet into crypto. And so I do anticipate we're talking like 2026 predictions, lower rates, and money continuing to move into risk assets, stock market, and crypto.
And that's the liquidity that's already in the market. But what about new, fresh liquidity? Here's Arthur Hayes here saying money liquidity likely bottomed in November and is inching higher. It's time for crypto to pump up the jam. It would be nice to see the pump up the jam memes again, waking up to those memes, waking up to those songs. It's been quite a while since we've had those. But here's kind of the chart that he's talking about liquidity bottomed out in end of October or early November. Kind of interesting considering the liquidity crisis we had in crypto, October 10th. That's right around the same time period. And so far, we've been just grinding higher. And during this time, what has been going on with Bitcoin and Ethereum? Grinding higher, putting in higher lows, and trying to put good macros together. And that correlates with liquidity coming back to the market here slowly but surely. Will Arthur Hayes be correct? I don't know. He's made a lot of money. He's not right on everything, that's for sure. He is on the camp of $250,000 Bitcoin, but he still was saying that would happen in a 4-year cycle fashion by today. Now he has started looking at the ISM, talking about what we've been talking about, and he's now flipped from 4-year cyclist to saying that the top will actually be in 2027, and we have a 2026 to 2027 ISM business cycle expansion, which keeps putting fuel behind the fire for Bitcoin and crypto, not only for some point of a high in 2026 like we've been calling for, but the major blow off top occurring in early 2027.
Arthur Hayes, I actually really like Arthur Hayes. He's a funny dude. Character for sure. Not best in terms of predictions I've seen. Kind of all over the map, Sometimes one day you look at his feed and he's like, $1 million Bitcoin by, he's like just wild predictions. And then the next day he's like, I'm selling everything. It's going to zero.
That is true. I guess he can do that when he's playing with so many hundreds of millions. He can, 5% move to him is a big gain or a big loss. So he's changing his bias pretty quickly.
Yeah. So, take his predictions with a grain of salt, I would say. But look, no one's right on their predictions 100% of the time. So, it is what it is. But yeah, I'm not surprised to see liquidity grinding up. I'm not surprised to see that it bottomed out right at the time of the liquidation crisis that we had in October. So it all makes sense when you line these things up. I just think the trend is your friend here. Not only liquidity conditions easing, but price performance sort of grinding higher. And maybe that brings us to a good segue here. And I've seen a lot of predictions about 2026 sort of suggesting that the same mechanics from the 4-year cycle are going to persist into 2026, meaning like big blow off top in like April or whatever, sometime early in the year, and then like a big crash. And it seems to me like crypto people can't seem to get it out of their minds that we have to have these huge run-ups and then huge corrections, because I guess that's what's always happened before. Isn't it possible that that phase of the market is behind us? And we instead have basically a continuation of what we've seen since 2022, which is the slow grind up. Okay, run up, little 30%, 20% correction, consolidation, another run up. Couldn't that happen throughout the rest of 2026?
Yeah, I mean, I still think you need some form of euphoria, but maybe you're going to get tampered volatility on Bitcoin and then eventually Ethereum to the downside too, just because there is so much institutional money, long-term money, the dampening of inflation, the burns, supply control, etc. But I do think that we still get less volatility on Bitcoin and ETH potentially, like you said, 20%, 30% dips for the bear market rather than 85. But I still think since you're still in such an early game, if we can get retail market back, get liquidity back, you're still going to see those massive run-ups and those 90% corrections on anything that is mid-cap or lower, just due to how small of a capitalization there are, human nature, retail FOMO, whatever it may be.
That's a very good point to distinguish between Bitcoin and Ethereum, which are heavily institutionalized at this point, let's just be honest, versus all the altcoins, which are retail-based. That's a very good point. I could see that being the case. But it's just interesting to me that, crypto personalities, anonymous accounts on X, whatever the case may be, they can't seem to break out of the prior paradigm, the prior mindset of big run-up, big dumps. And it's like, dude, isn't there a probability that the market's changed? And don't we have evidence that it has, in fact, changed, given what's happened over the past 2 years? With how Bitcoin looks, this kind of structured grind. So I think that's really an unappreciated story in prediction.
Yeah, we've talked about it a lot too. Look at when gold had its ETF. It went on like a decade-long bull market. That doesn't mean there wasn't corrections. It just meant that the trend was still up and to the right, and it didn't really put in lower lows below its previous cycle lows. So the same thing can happen for gold. As you come to the forefront of institutions, as you become a bigger asset class, there's more money backing you. There's more long-term hodlers who are just kind of checked out and use it as a portfolio diversifier, which really puts in higher floor prices for downturns. And then you have the built-in 4-year halving cycle. Unlike gold, which is just mined at an unknown rate all the time, finding new stuff, you have the halving of Bitcoin, which also helps higher that floor because less and less Bitcoin are produced, on a 4-year cycle. So, I agree with you there. We'll see what the volatility looks like. we were talking about how the dip that we had after the liquidity crisis still could just be the normal correction during a bull market trend, because in 2017 we had like 14 or something, 20 to 30% dips. We just came off a 33% dip in Bitcoin, almost the perfect 35% measurement that a lot of people were looking for. And now we're grinding higher off the lows. So I'm rooting for trend reversal, bullish, new all-time highs. Even if the bears are right and we get a rally to 110,000 Bitcoin and 5,000 ETH, I would take that as well. I'd take that as an opportunity to reevaluate the macro conditions, reevaluate the portfolio, maybe take some profits, who knows. But that would be a nice relief rally. If the bearish outlook is 110,000 Bitcoin and $4,000 to $5,000 ETH, I'm sure a lot of people would be happy with that right now.
Well, you know why a relief rally would be so critical right now? And even if, let's just set that aside. I mean, January of 2026 is likely the most pivotal month for Bitcoin and crypto that we've had in recent memory. And the reason for that is, depending on which direction that we go, or maybe even consolidate further, either way, we will know without a shadow of a doubt that the 4-year cycle either is dead or alive and well, right? If we continue to consolidate here, grind higher, or we have a big run to 110,000, we know it's done. If we get a crash, there another 30%. Crypto winter, here we come. Well, 4-year cyclists, I guess you guys are right. So we'll know. We'll know in a month. But what's interesting is I'm in a lot of groups, trading groups and so on, with bears in there, 4-year cyclists in there. And they're now talking about repositioning. They're talking about, okay, I'm looking to get back. A lot of them sold, by the way, around, in October. Good for them. That was a smart move. Thinking that, okay, 4-year cycle, okay, here comes the top, blah, blah, blah. But they're not, saying, oh, we got another 30%. They're talking about getting back into the market now. So, yeah, to me, again, all about probabilities. What's more likely, the anonymous guys on X being right about 4-year cycle, or Tom Lee, BlackRock, Michael Saylor, all these guys that are buying, that they're right, and actually asset prices are going higher in 26.
Yeah, and talking about repositioning, liquidity signal here. Stablecoin supply keeps printing new all-time highs. The fresh capital sitting on the sidelines, not leaving crypto. Historically, this kind of buildup precedes major moves once confidence flips. Liquidity is ready. Markets just haven't pulled the trigger yet. There's $310 billion in crypto stablecoins on the market right now, whether that's centralized exchange or in decentralized wallets that are being tracked by this metric. I don't know about you, but $310 billion of potential buy pressure could create a new move. Now, I'm not going to say all the stable coins come flooding into the market, even though we know that people FOMO when they see green candles. But I still think it's good that it's sitting here rather than being exited into traditional markets where you have a traditional stable coin, USD, on the books, and you can put it in a cash account to earn yield. Now, why I don't think that all of this floods back into crypto is they are talking about now here, Coinbase warns that if the Senate messes this up, China wins the stablecoin war. They're trying to make sure the U.S. may start paying yield on USDT and USDC in 2026. So if there is yield for stablecoins, that is going to make it a little bit harder for that $310 billion to just full port and flood back into Bitcoin and ETH, because they will earn a good yield simply for being in the crypto markets and participating in liquidity.
You can already earn yield on USDC on Coinbase, can you not? So, I mean, there's that already. I do think some of the capital will come into the crypto markets once we get consistent green candles over a few month period, right? Some of that will come back into the markets, no doubt about it. This is an interesting story, very speculative as far as I can tell. This is one of these posts where you got to put on your critical thinking hat, guys, because this guy's just posting things in caps with absolutely no source. First time I'm hearing that China's going to be doing dividends or whatever yield on their digital yuan. I mean, it could be true. I'm not seeing a news story around it. Let's assume that it is true anyway. The problem that I see in terms of the U.S. following suit is it was hard enough to get the stablecoin bill passed where they excluded stablecoins from being able to pay yield. Why did they do that? The banks don't want to compete with the stablecoins. Are you crazy? The banks don't want, and the banking lobby is very powerful. So I don't know if the U.S. goes back to the drawing board and carves up some sort of exception and changes the law and says, okay, now never mind, you can earn yield on the stablecoin now. I don't see that happening, but I also don't really see China doing this either, where all of a sudden we're gonna start paying a yield on our digital yuan or whatever the heck that guy's talking about. So put your critical thinking hat on when you see some posts, guys, especially if there's no source. Fun to talk about. He could be right, he could be wrong. My overall general take is the stablecoin bill extremely bullish for crypto, bullish for the dollar too, by the way, because or I should say treasuries, because these stablecoin issuers are the only ones really the primary purchaser of these treasuries. So it's all working out, it's all good, but yeah, be a little smart when you see anonymous people posting in all caps on X. Thank you, Willie. Thank you, Willie Blog. Happy New Year to you, sir. Looks like I can show stuff on the screen now.
Sitter 3084 went up. Well, hopefully in Q1 2026 with another interest rate cut in January, more regulation getting passed in hopefully Q1 2026, and it looks like liquidity expansion is underway with the global liquidity bottoming out in November there, according to Arthur Hayes, and it's been grinding higher slowly here since then, and so has Ethereum and Bitcoin price.
Yeah, let's talk about some predictions here for 26 in terms of altcoins. Talked a lot about Bitcoin. We think it's going higher in 2026. I don't know when it's going to break its previous all-time high. I don't think that happens in January, or perhaps March, April, somewhere around there. We'll see. Maybe quicker. Who knows? We're only about, 30% away from there. Not actually that much from Bitcoin terms. But in any event, from an altcoin standpoint, we had privacy that did extremely well in 25. We had memes doing very well in 24, maybe a little bit in 25, not much. Everything else has been pretty bad altcoin-wise. What's your prediction? What sectors do you see doing well? Big caps first, then mid, then low. I mean, where do you see all the altcoin stuff?
I mean, first of all, we've been saying this for a year now, and that's why we're not all that surprised or that down that alts haven't done anything. If Ethereum is not above $5,000, you're not going to have an alt season. So, first of all, we need Ethereum to get to new all-time highs, real new all-time highs, because in my book, we haven't had new all-time highs in Ethereum in 5 years now, since 2021, 2020. So, the second largest crypto in the world has not had a new all-time high, yet the 4-year cycle has said that was it, that's the bull market. That seems wild to me. So we need Ethereum above $5,000. Of course, when that happens, that means the large caps are doing well. Ethereum is going to be new all-time highs. BNB probably knocks on new all-time highs. Maybe Solana knocks on new all-time highs. And that will spur liquidity for other altcoins. The way it works is Ethereum is bonded with liquidity of a lot of other altcoins. When it goes higher, it helps drag those assets higher. And people in profits on ETH are more likely to then roll into those altcoins. And that's how you get alt season. Number two, I do believe that privacy, it keeps getting talked about. It's performed well. It's still holding levels. Zcash, Monero, Zen, and many others. I think privacy will be a narrative because there isn't the regulatory overlord killing privacy like it did the last 4 years. Remember, privacy was a big thing in 2017 cycle and even in the 2020 cycle, and it was really Biden and Harris and that regime that went after privacy tokens and had tokens like Horizon even add privacy optionality to their token to try to not go to jail. So I think privacy is going to be a good sector. Memes never die. But what I want to see is Ethereum above 5,000, have another ETH cycle, and then the assets, the layer ones, the layer twos that lean so heavily on ETH will also follow. And I think Base could be a big winner of that because they're tied very tightly with Ethereum Foundation, scaling solution for Ethereum. You have the Coinbase ties, who owns Ethereum, etc. Then you also have Lena, whatever that one's called. That one is the one that Joe Lubin's really big on. We've kind of avoided that, but I think they could have their day in the sunlight because, again, tied very strongly to Joe Lubin, the Ethereum Foundation. And then lastly, I think Pulse Chain, not because of its ties to Vitalik or Ethereum Foundation, but because it owns hundreds of millions of ETH. And if ETH can get to 5,000 or 6,000, that is all rocket fuel to potentially roll into the Pulse Chain network, market the Pulse Chain network, and try to catch a bid. We also know Pulse Chain is at near all-time lows, so valuations mean you have better upside versus downside risk as well. And we've also seen that wallet has already ported in $1 million here, $5 million there, $1.5 million recently. So it isn't afraid to sell some of that ETH and buy the Pulse Chain assets. And of course, if Ethereum is $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, that buying power goes up with it.
$10,000 ETH, that'll be the day. It's going to happen, guys. It's how it's going to happen. Maybe sometime in 26, probably will. Maybe you can pull up the poll that we just posted on Crypto Paradise, because what you said sort of reminded me. We posted a poll, like, what was your favorite moment in 2025, something like that. Maybe you can pull that up. I'll tell you guys a little story. But in terms of altcoin predictions, yeah, I agree. Privacy is going to continue to outperform. That's normally what happens, right? If the sector's hot, it's going to stay hot for the latter half of the cycle. So I believe privacy will continue to do well. I actually think memes are going to make a big comeback, and I think Solana is really here to stay. What you're seeing in the market is sort of this bifurcation between Ethereum and Solana. Ethereum becoming much more institutionalized, right? The ETFs, the buyers, the digital asset treasuries, Tom Lee, etc. That's pushing up ETH. And I think you'll still have some runners in that ecosystem. Maybe some memes will do well. But really, for the most part, retail, as far as I can tell, still loves Solana. And they still love their memes over there. And you're seeing a lot of innovation now, actually, in Solana. I've spent a bit more time in the trenches, as it were, of Solana. And there is a lot of people building out technology and tooling to sort of facilitate more speculation and more, activity in the trenches. Maybe make a better pump fund, or maybe build tools to allow you to perform better while in the trenches of pump fund. So I think Solana's going to continue to do well from a retail standpoint. We'll see some memes do well over there. We'll see some infrastructure do well over there. But yeah, for me, I don't really mess around too much in the trenches because it's very easy to lose money, and I hate losing money. But I do think ETH is going to do well, and I do think we hit all-time highs on ETH in 2026, maybe 10,000. We'll have to see. It's going to depend on how well Bitcoin does. But memes, don't sleep on the memes. Don't sleep on Solana trenches. Privacy, I think, is going to do well. And who knows? We'll probably have some innovation out of left field, too, right? Like, that's kind of what we've seen in previous cycles to spur on a bit of an alt season. Look back to 2021. You saw Uniswap come out. Okay, boom. You got DeFi Summer. Or maybe that was 2020. I forget which year. Pump Fund comes out. That spurs the meme season on Solana. So, and then you got the Hyperliquid spurring on the perpetuals market. So you have these innovations. We'll see what comes out of left field. Expect the unexpected. But I don't know. Did you fill out this poll here, Nick? What was your favorite moment of 2025?
I did Trump pump in Q1 2025 and that's more than just Q1 2025. That's also Q4 of 2024, as it was pretty evident, or the polls were saying that he had a good chance of winning. We predicted he was going to win, and prices did well. It looks like the crowd is talking about ETH all-time high in August 2025. And maybe that's what you wanted to talk about, because I don't believe we really had an all-time high. Let's take a look at the chart here, guys. Let's go to Ethereum. Ethereum USD. Let's go to the monthly here. I mean, if we zoom in here, I know there's a lot of markings because we make trades. Here's what we saw in 2021. The high was 4,781, 4,864. And here, what do we have? 4,958 for about 30 minutes. So I guess we went to a new all-time high on ETH for about less than $100 for about an hour. So I guess that maybe that's what you were talking about. The crowd is talking about the ETH in August 2025, and I'm like, I don't even think we really went to an all-time high. It does look like you went to an all-time high by less than $100 for less than one green candle.
Yes, and I will tell you a story about that moment, because that was the glorious moment that I was retired for 1 hour. I retired for 1 hour, guys. I said, you know what? I'm done working. I'm retired. I'm just kidding. I wasn't going to retire. But I happened to be in Tulum at that time with my family. Market was pumping like mad. I have a lot of ETH, so if it goes up, my portfolio is looking great. And so, hits all-time high. I'm like, you know what? I'm just going to go out and drink some beers. So I just, got wasted drinking beers, just, sending screenshots to my friends back home, like, guys, ETH at 5,000. I'm retired. I'm moving to Mexico. And of course, an hour later, I had to come out of retirement and get back to work and get back to real life. So yeah, just joking around for the most part, but that was a fun moment. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed $5,000 ETH for 1 hour and my 1 hour retirement.
Instead of taking snapshots, you should have been taking profits. But again, it just seemed like, based on whether you're a 4-year cyclist or a 5-year cyclist, or now you got Arthur Hayes as a 6-year cyclist, that was the final, after 5 years, Ethereum breaking out to new all-time highs by less than $100 at the time. But normally, in normal 4-year cycles, you would have follow-through off of that. And we just didn't have it. Then we went up and tried to attack 4,800 again, 4,800 again, 4,600 again. And then we had the October liquidity crisis and never been anywhere close ever since then.
Yeah, man, that was a glorious 1 hour. I'll tell you. I mean, I was drinking that beer. I was bragging to my friends. All-time highs. Wow, feeling great. And then bam, didn't work out. Probably should have taken some profits there. But you know what? I'll tell you guys my overall like investment thesis when it comes to Ethereum, Bitcoin, crypto. Well, let's just talk about Ethereum, Bitcoin, not altcoins. I think we are still very, very early. I think Bitcoin is going to hit $1 million by the year 2035. By the way, that would still mean its market cap is less than gold today, just FYI. So we'd still be sub $30 trillion market cap on Bitcoin. Ethereum, I think, should easily be able to hit, maybe not easily. I think Ethereum can match the market cap of Microsoft in the next 10 years. That's at 10 times. Why do I say that? Why do I say that Ethereum is similar to Microsoft? Ethereum is the operating system for the decentralized digital economy. Microsoft is sort of the operating system for Web 2.0. I think there's a lot of parallels there at a very crude level. I know some people are saying, oh, it's like silver or something. I don't see that at all. I view it more like Microsoft than anything else. But I think we got it 10 times in Ethereum, and I think we got it 10 times on Bitcoin in the next 10 years. And so for that reason, I'm not really looking to sell much at any given time. Because if that happens, then like I'm set for life, if we do it 10 times. So I don't really want to sell my bags for cheap. I'll hold on to my Bitcoin. I'll hold on to my Ethereum. I'll try to find profits in alts, which obviously they don't have the lifespan of these kind of assets. But that's my thesis. So I didn't sell at all-time highs. What can you do? And I don't plan on selling anytime soon. So what's your thoughts, like long-term? Do you agree with my take on 10 years? We got 10 years to do it 10 times on Bitcoin and ETH.
Yeah, I think it could be shorter than that on Ethereum. I think Ethereum, if we're in a 6-year or 5-year cycle, especially if you're in Arthur, a 6-year cycle, if Bitcoin gets to 244,000, Ethereum's going to be 20 grand. So, I mean, I don't know what that math is, but it's not quite 10, but it's doing quite well. It's always interesting to look at this chart here. Of course, we have the global FOMO on silver. It went up to $85 an ounce and quickly back down to 72. Still number 3 asset in the world. Here's Microsoft, you're talking about number 6. And then all the way down here, Ethereum almost falling out of the top 40. If AMD has one more green day, it'll pass up Ethereum once again. So I think there's massive opportunity there. I've been talking about Ethereum as like the Microsoft or the iOS system for crypto for a long time because that's what makes sense. Some people now talk about Ethereum as the oil. I don't like that comparison because Ethereum is more of a software product. Also, oil prices are volatile based off like war and everything else. Ethereum not so much. But so I like the Ethereum as the Microsoft comparison better. The silver comparison has always been like Litecoin because silver, like gold, has similar utilities, thermodynamics, used for jewelry, kind of used for money. So that's why I like the Litecoin as the silver comparison better. Litecoin really hasn't been in our portfolio or in our trading book since like 2019 or 2020. It's been a long time. Not doing too much there, not much innovation there, but always wild to see these asset prices for these global companies. And Ethereum's all the way down here at number 40, meaning one individual stock has more value than Ethereum, which is running 90% of stablecoins, DeFi, and everything else on crypto and blockchain.
I made a joke about Costco the other day relative to ETH. I don't know if you just pointed out Costco or LMVH, but yeah, it's just funny to me that. And by the way, I love Costco. I will do whole streams on Costco, guys. I'm a big Costco fan. But come on, you're trying to tell me that the vanguard of the digital economy, the chain that is going to tokenize the world, a deflationary asset that bears yield for all its stakers, is somehow valued less than a glorified shopping center. That
I like
makes no
Sam's
sense
better
to
than
me.
Costco. That's the poll. That's the poll you got to put in. What's better, Costco or Sam's?
Yeah, no, I'm a Costco guy. I don't have a lot of Sam's Club nearby. But in any event, look, if you want 10 times, if you want to do very well, outperform inflation and outperform the S&P 500, and I'm not trying to knock on S&P, I'm not trying to knock on gold, but if you're trying to outperform, you're going to have to take a little bit of risk. And I'm not saying full port your everything into meme coins. No, I'm not saying do that. I'm saying Bitcoin and Ethereum. Not super risky, not insane. I mean, these are tried and true assets. They're not going anywhere. They're not going to zero. Yes, they're volatile. Yes, a lot of people love to hate them. Yes, there's still some maturing to do, I would say. But if you're looking for outperformance, you're going to have to take a little bit of risk. And I think Ethereum 10 times in 10 years, I mean, that's conservative. That's a conservative prediction if I really think about it. So, yeah, do with that information what you will. I know Willie loves it. 10 times in 10 years on ETH. I think absolutely in the cards. And so, yeah, I continue to hold. I continue to hold because I believe in these assets long term. Hope you guys do too.
Yeah, before we wrap up, we do have Dap Center here. We know him for a long time. He just posted a tweet, and we were talking about Solana. Solana price predictions for 2026. He said in 2020 it was $1. 2021 it was $2.50. 2022 was $12. 23 100, 24 180, 25 130, 26 250 to 400. He thinks is going to be the low for price in Solana in 2026. That would be pretty nice. I don't know about you. I don't own a bunch of Solana. But when Solana does well, we do get marketing deals. We do get some new innovations, some new meme coins, pump fund tokens that have done well in the past. And talk about reflecting on the past. Our community has done well with Fuck 9 to 5 and various other altcoins on Solana. Although it was sometimes a week, a month, 3 months of good performance, there were still gains nonetheless. And that did happen due to Solana's trenches when really retail was nowhere else to be found.
I'm rooting for Solana. I don't have a lot, like you said. You know, I'm more of a Bitcoin OG or Ethereum OG. Didn't really hop on the Solana bandwagon too much, but have a bit. The problem with Solana to me is, first of all, its inflation rate is pretty high at 4%, over 4% a year inflation rate. So that's something to bear in mind. The second thing is its use case, its sort of narrative, let's call it. It's very, very reliant on retail. Institutions haven't adopted it. I know they haven't. I believe it has an ETF. Don't know how well it's done. They don't have a front man, a pitch man like Tom Lee for Ethereum or like Michael Saylor for Bitcoin. It is very much reliant on the trenches, on meme coins and retail. And that's fine. I think, honestly, if you're thinking about diversification in crypto, there should be an asset in your portfolio that's, focused on retail. Because retail's not going anywhere. That's, ebbs and flows, certainly, but it's not going away completely. So I think it makes sense to have a bit of Solana from that standpoint. But, man, if this pump fund lawsuit, continues to pick up steam and, maybe gets sued out of existence, maybe some of the higher-ups at Solana Foundation are somehow implicated in that as the allegations are suggesting that is the case. It is a little bit of a higher risk play, Solana, compared to ETH or Bitcoin. But I like it, and I want it to do well. Like you said, when Solana's doing well, the trenches are doing well. The trenches are doing well. Retail is doing well. That's what we want to see.
The big, beautiful tax return coming in 2026, just posted by GOP yesterday. Americans will get a gigantic tax refund next year. This is what we're talking about. If global M2 money supply grows, if liquidity in the institutional domain grows, if retail gets more money from lower interest rates, dividend checks, tax refunds, and we see some green candles in crypto, risk on assets, collectibles, whatever it may be, that's what drives market higher. We saw that with silver. We saw that in gold. Retail went around the block the next day. That was the top in gold. We saw it in silver. Retail went around the block the next day. That was the top in silver. Still $72. Still gone from 20 to 72 over the course of the year. So still good performance. But retail comes when it is on mainstream media, when price is going up sustainably, and when they have the extra capital in their pockets. So maybe we get some green candles in crypto. We get good liquidity conditions, lower interest rates, tax fund, refund checks, and then people sell their gold and silver to get into crypto too. That could help. I mean, retail that just hopped on board the gold and silver train, they're not married to that. They just thought it was an opportunity to make money, and they'll exit if they find a better opportunity.
One final story, maybe you can pull up the story around, I believe it was Pakistan. It was CZ's comment on Pakistan and nation states. Before we get into that, I am looking at a check from the United States Treasury. $1,404. I think this is a refund courtesy of the big, beautiful bill. I'm not actually 100% sure. It doesn't say that anywhere. Now that I think about it, it could just be normal tax refund. I somehow overpaid my taxes and they're giving me a refund. I don't know. But the money's coming, guys. The refunds are coming to regular, hardworking Americans. God forbid it ends up in the hands of any of those goddamn Somalians. I'm going to lose a fucking gasket if they get more money from the feds. Fuck those people.
Luckily,
man.
it seems like Chaz or whatever his name is from Silicon Valley, Doge, Elon, they're all like going to be funding more people like that Nick Shirley guy to go to various locations and see if they can find fraud. And then if they find the
Nice.
fraud, they bring it to the light. It gets millions of views. FBI is forced to look into it. Maybe we get some convictions or at least stop payments and get the taxpayer money going back to potholes and real schools and wildlife and the things that actually matter, not Somalian pockets of people who don't even like America. Anyways, that
Madden.
I digress. Talking about foreign countries and a foreigner that I love, CZ in Pakistan here. Go ahead.
Yeah, happy to see this. CZ's been making a lot of efforts to bring on nation states. He was spending a lot of time, I believe it was in Kazakhstan not that long ago. They've adopted Bitcoin in a major way. I believe they're mining, and I believe they have their own little strategic reserve in Kazakhstan. Good for them. Now it looks like he's pushing Pakistan for, which is a wealthier country than Kazakhstan. It's a big country. Pakistan is. I think, look, this is a trend to look out for 26, and our prediction has been basically you're going to continue to see the, quote, smaller countries jump in. The Pakistans of the world, the Kazakhstans, the El Salvadors, Bhutan, shout out to Bhutan, wherever the hell Bhutan is. They're in on it. At a certain point, especially when price starts to go higher, you need price higher to have FOMO, don't you? When you get the nation states buying in, get a little bit of good price performance, which big country is going to take the jump and actually buy Bitcoin with the fiat that they printed out of thin air? Right? What a great idea. Print money out of thin air, use it to buy Bitcoin. Which country is going to jump in first? That's another big trend in 2026, the nation state FOMO.
I was looking for Senator Lumens because I did think she posted a tweet saying that Trump is behind her idea to buy 1 million Bitcoin. I can't find it right now, but the thing is, she's still pushing on it, and that would be massive if we actually start buying, but they have to find net neutral ways in order to do so. So they can confiscate more Bitcoin and hold it, which is good for the market. Now they're going to be accepting Bitcoin for tax payments, and they will be holding that for the strategic reserve, which is good for the market. But can they find net neutral ways to actually additionally buy Bitcoin off the open market? That is going to spur that FOMO from nation states and governments that we're talking about. El Salvador is still buying 1 Bitcoin or more each and every day. That's positive bribe pressure. They've been doing that for like 3,000 days now, so it's amazing to see that. And I think we're going to start seeing that with Kazakhstan, with Dubai, with all these other, Qatar. They're all getting behind Bitcoin, and that's primarily why I think, even though I believe we're on a 5-year cycle, or Arthur Hayes thinks we're on a 6-year cycle, Bitcoin has done as well as it has, as you do have these very wealthy nation states, very wealthy governments, and very wealthy individuals starting to accumulate Bitcoin behind closed doors. And that has been a nice addition to the supply and demand curve when everything else really hasn't done much.
Here's an idea for a net neutral way to accumulate Bitcoin. Take all that money you were giving to the goddamn Somalians, use it to buy some fucking Bitcoin.
That's true.
How's that? All right, well, let's see if that happens. But shout out to Martin. Martin made this new partnership happen, so we got to talk about it for a bit. And to be fair, I haven't had the time to truly dig into the True2X ecosystem and how it all works. My understanding, it is some sort of DeFi protocol, which allows you to generate yield on various tokens. They did add Surf as a partner, and they are adding LPs with the Surf token. They're buying Surf, and they're adding it to their protocol. And True2X has been outperforming tremendously. I still want to get a chance to meet the team, get to know them. I have been busy, so apologies for that. But we will have some more information on True2X as the weeks go by. But shout out to those guys. Pulse Chain still got some innovation happening. Few and far between, I guess you could say. And same with the green candles. But here's True2X. And I know there's a lot of excitement around there. So, Nick, I don't know if you know too much about them. Maybe gotten a chance to dig into it. But they're buying Surf and adding it to their LPs. Isn't that great?
I haven't dig into it, but that's always a good thing. If somebody wants to buy Surf and add it to the LP, that only benefits Surf. Remember, Surf has that token tax. So the more LPs it has, helps generate volume, which buys and burns the token, pays Surf holders in yield, and allows you to participate on these various DeFi platforms if you want to do that to earn yield. Emit, as he mentioned, is one of the oldest ones we've been doing. And the reason we like Emit, they created LPs with Surf. You can add Surf LPs with Emit and other assets. and then earn the EMIT token. And what's nice is you don't have to sell the EMIT token. You can just stake the EMIT token to earn real stablecoin DAI yield based off of volume. And obviously with Pulse Chain down, that DAI yield is down, but that's free stablecoins. And then you get those stablecoins, you can buy more EMIT, you can buy more SURF, you can cash out to pay bills, whatever you want to do. But that's why we've stuck with EMIT and kept doing it, because we are producing DAI at a slow level, but some DAI that we're using to buy and hold SURF or buy and burn SURF over time. You kind of stack these partnerships on top of each other and you can see what can happen to price. When Pulse Chain was doing okay and the market was doing okay and SURF just launched, we went from 10,000 to 3.6 million on the back of these kind of collaborations, where these other liquidity pools and other projects are essentially working for SURF token holder bags because they're creating LPs, they're creating volume, and that's burning, that's buying, that's reflecting SURF token to all the SURF holders.
It's great to see Pulse Chain still having some builders over there. I know it's been a very tough slog. A lot of people have given up. A lot of people have sold their entire bag. Devs decided to build elsewhere, wherever the case may be. But every so often you see tremendous innovation, and DeFi is really flourishing over there. And I think True 2X is a prime example of that. We are not going anywhere. EMIT's not going anywhere. True 2X looks like those guys are legit and here to stay as well. So happy to see all that. Let's see if Pulse Chain ends up surprising everyone in 2026. Maybe that can be our final prediction for today's show, looking out to 2026. Do you think Richard Hart, Pulse Chain, blows everyone's minds, or is it more of the same and just disappointment and didn't quite work out?
I think we talk about probabilities. It's near. I mean, PLS is at all-time lows. PulseX, the one that we told you to own, is not at all-time lows. It's still up. PTGC, which we told you to own, not at all-time lows. And SURF, not at all-time lows. So all the ones we told you to own are still green. Not great in performance, but I think it is very easy for you to surprise. We saw that $1.5 million was injected while the overall market was going down, and PLS went up like 85%. Now it's sold off since then because there was no follow-through. Ethereum's down below 3,000, etc. But I think it shows you that even with general market conditions red, it doesn't take much capital to see some multiples out of Pulse Chain, and that supercharges SURF and PTGC and all this passive income. So I think if we believe that the cycle continues, ETH's going to new all-time highs above 5,000, hopefully 10,000, hopefully 15,000. It doesn't take much for Pulse Chain to really trend reversal. You get some new retail, you get general market conditions good, and then what do you know? You got hundreds of millions of dollars with ETH that you can swap for these blue chip core assets as well.
I think Pulse Chain can end up surprising and outperforming, but we're going to need stars to align. Obviously, I think you need general liquidity conditions to improve and alts to sort of start to see some green candles across the board. It's not going to, Pulse Chain, like any other alt's not going to swim upstream. So you kind of need macros to be looking good for alts. But, Richard Hart, he's the X factor, isn't he? He can either pump us to Valhalla or just kill us and crush us. And it's kind of a crazy thing to think. But again, talking about probabilities, I don't see him going through hell and back, sued by the SEC, Interpol case against them, all the FUD, all the hate, to still now be doing live streams, coming out, showing his face, showing a little bit of contrition as well in those videos, talking about some mistakes he made. I don't think he goes through all that to just basically exit scam, not pump the chain, and not be a success. So he's sitting on a couple $100 million, probably more of Ethereum. He has the ability, I think, with his live streams, his personality, to basically be a one-man marketing machine and get some good attention back on Pulse Chain. He hasn't done that really, I think, to a sufficient level. He hasn't deployed enough capital consistently. But if he does those things, stars will align. I think we can, and like you said, we're at all-time lows. It doesn't take a lot to pump the chain. So if all those things happen, we can absolutely see Pulse Chain outperformance here in 2026. And that's my hope.
That'd be nice for a lot of viewers because, again, heavy in PTGC, if Pulse Chain goes up, that's going to moon. Heavy in SURF, if Pulse Chain goes up, that's going to moon, and our viewers are going to win in a big way. But if you're watching this, you're new to the channel, this is your cue to, hey, go try out Pulse Chain. Toss $100, $500, $1,000 on Pulse Chain. Buy these rock bottom prices and assets that we believe have great token utilities, whether it's PTGC or SURF. Get 200,000 SURF, which costs you like $500 or $600. Get in the DAO group, get all the benefits of that. And that 200,000 SURF will grow slowly based off trading volume and on the resurgence of Pulse Chain as well.
Yeah, man. Get yourself in the Dow. It only costs 500 to 600 bucks, and that gets you a free trip to Tulum. My goodness. Reminder to everyone who's watching the show now. Maybe you're newer to Crypto Paradise. You don't know what we're all about. The channel was created in part because we have the Paradise Pad condo down in Tulum, and we're giving away free nights down there because we're trying to let you guys live the good life like we do here at Crypto Paradise, although 2025 wasn't great, but that's okay. You know, you got to have the down years to really appreciate the good times, don't you? So I'll leave you with a little dose of positivity, but yeah, get yourself in the Dow, get a free vacation, get the alpha calls, get the exclusive investment opportunities, get a chance to be part of something cool and special within crypto and within Pulse Chain. Martin, guys, a rumor, something big is coming for Pulse Chain. I mean, I'm not, necessarily always a believer in rumors, but hey, if it spurs on some green candles, bring some confidence back, bring on the rumors, baby. Bring them on.
All right. Well, I think that kind of wraps up the show. We started late, but we still went over an hour. We got some other stuff to get done today, and we need to check in with TrueX. We need to check in with Vault, with Quants, with Me3, all these projects that will be supported by Crypto Paradise. We just need them to launch. And what's good about that is when other projects support us, that means there's some kind of tokens or marketing income, and we use that to support Pulse Chain and to support Surf in our community as well with giveaways, Surf buybacks and burns, new LPs on Pulse Chain. That's the way the flywheel has worked in the past and will work when the market picks back up.
January, a lot of projects looking to launch in January, allegedly. So let's hope that they end up doing that. It's been a long time. We've been locked up in some of pre-sales for ages. Launch. Let's hope the market's bullish. Do some good marketing. Get on the right exchanges. And let the fundamentals take over. That's what I say. So Happy New Year's, everybody. Here's to 2026. And we'll see you on the beach.